Lower the bar.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's probably one of my best showings last week. So, of course, we're coming off the Mountain Pacific Championship, getting ready to head into NCAAs. And of course, you guys have always heard me say that this is what we're aiming for in our seasons, the championship season, and putting our kids in a position to be successful. And I think we've done that for the most part. We have a large contingent, probably one of the largest contingents, combined men and women that we've had in our time here at the University of Oregon. 13 women and 14 men are going to Albuquerque. So really excited about that. Excited about the things that we got done at the Mountain Pacific Championship last week, and trying to add some qualifiers to that and get some fine tuning and some looks at some people and some certain events there. And so we have one more week and we're off and running.
The women's record in this meet speaks for itself. Is it nice though to see both teams well represented and with a shot at the podium?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things in being here and coming here is to try to have a complete program. And being a combined program, the men and the women are all combined together. They're doing well. You know, the women are ranked second, the men are ranked fourth, and so those will be finishes that we'll try to improve upon at the championship next week.
Not a lot of room to improve up from second.
Well, second, there's only one better than that, and so the women have kind of been in this position before. I want to say they were probably ranked a little lower than that last year going into the meet and found a way to pull it off. So we'll try to take that Hayward Field magic that we create and have here to Albuquerque.
Now, you had some real strong leadership on your women's team last year. How successfully have you replaced that this year?
Well, believe it or not, if you would have told me that we would have been in the same position this year, I would have laughed and I probably thought you were smoking something, being so close to Seattle. But
That's pretty good.
it's no easy task, and so for us to be in contention and have a shot to defend our title is definitely special. We lost a huge contingent of kids that graduated last year, and it just shows the efforts of our coaching staff to recruit day in and day out and have kids step in and fill in those gaps and those holes.
You do have some youth, some young contributors on the women's side. Do they have enough big meet experience prior to their coming here that you feel like they'll handle themselves okay on this stage?
Believe it or not, I think so, because when you say big meet experience, I immediately come to mind with Sasha Wallace. You know, here's a world championship, a Pan Am competitor that competed in some of those meets and in the summer, and so she definitely has that experience there on the big stage. But one of the things that I often tell or often think and talk to our staff about is sometimes you can't underestimate those freshmen. They may be just naive enough to go in there and not know the stage that they're on and surprise not only us but themselves.
Can you assess the team competition on the women's side? What other teams are beginning for that title, and is there a magic number that you're shooting for in terms of points?
Magic number. When you say magic numbers, I'm assuming all the specialists and gurus out there have these things called dope sheets where they go in and try to project out the meet. And so we try not to do those too much, but our staff had a little competition amongst itself. So a couple weeks ago, we put up on the board all the events and thought what it would take to win the meet, and we put it in an envelope and sealed the envelope and put it away. And so after the meet's over, we're going to open it up and see how close we come to it. And so we had everybody on our staff do it. So that's the closest that we've come to kind of doping out the meet as far as on our end. But as far as those that are in contention, you know, it's pretty much the usual suspects there. You got Florida, who's had an outstanding meet there. Mouse Holloway did a good job in winning the SEC title. I think that's one of their first in a long time. You have Texas A&M. You have Texas and Mario Satania there in Texas. He's a first-year combined program head coach. So all those guys will probably be in the mix, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some sleeper or some dark horse out there. I want to say probably Florida State or one of those guys are there in contention somewhere, but those are probably the main contenders. And Kentucky's has done a good job there. They're 5th or 6th ranked there in the country. So all those guys are the usual suspects, I guess, that are going to make a shot at this, and they all have good coaches, and we'll see how it all plays out.
What number's in your envelope?
That was my
Believe it or
follow-up
not,
question.
I don't remember what I had written down there, but I will say that out of all of our coaches and all of our staff that participated in this, I was the lowest number on there. There was a lot of
So you've
optimistic.
already peaked?
No. I'm the one that did it, so they had to submit all the
so
interest to me. So I
So
kind of know
You
everybody.
perhaps anticipate a more competitive meet, more spread out amongst the various teams then?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight. There's some things there that we get to go head to head with some of our competitors, and anytime we get to come on top and win those head to head battles, will definitely be huge for us.
If like last year it comes down to the 4x4, how confident do you feel about that team having Phyllis and Laura and Chi-Chi, I guess?
We got 3 of the 4 back. English Gardner is off of that team last year from indoors that won there in the first heat. There's a lot of good teams out there. So confidence, I think we're going to score some points, and I think if the meet comes down to that event and we got to score some points, I think we'll always rise up and step up to the plate and get those points necessary. I think those seniors, those girls that you mentioned are seniors, so I'm sure they can rally the cause and get done whatever needs to get done to seal the deal.
Represent, we're not having English run, not just in terms of production, but just the whole shoes personality.
Absolutely, English popularized the stage of like a lion in a cage, and so don't quite have someone with that tenacity or that go-get-em attitude, that pit bull mentality. I think we have some other fiery and leaders here on our team. They just display it in a different way. And so that comes year in and year out. Like, we're going to graduate a huge group this year, and Phyllis, Laura, and Chi-Chi that Curtis mentioned there. And so we'll be looking for the next set or next wave of people to come in and fill into those steps.
Back to the staff prognostications, which you say you don't really pay attention to a lot of the immediate dope art. So handicap the doping on your staff. I mean, who's realistic and who isn't?
I would probably say our throws coach and one of our director of operations are overly optimistic. And when I say overly optimistic, if we do the things that they say we're going to do, we're going to score more points than the history of the championship. So, and then on the pessimistic side, I guess that's me leading the way. And then probably the guy back there, Matt Downs. He's a guru in that sort of thing, and always is looking at numbers as one of our director of operations. So that's both ends of the spectrum there.
All due respect, is your throws coach even going?
That's a good question. There's a lot of things that we have going on here, and of course we have a meet coming up when we get back. So the meet is on Saturday, and we get back and we have a meet on Saturday, the following Saturday here, our first outdoor meet. And so I know those kids are itching to get underway and get started, because a lot of those hammer throwers and javelin people don't really compete indoors there.
You answered some questions about the women's 4x4, but what about the men's 4x4? It looks like it's really taking a step up.
Yeah, the men missed this meet last year, and so they end up doing well outdoors. And so once again, we like having those relays there. You heard me mention Downs earlier. He's brought it to my attention that we're probably one of only a couple of teams that have all 4 relays here at this meet. So both DMRs and both 4x4s, and that's kind of unheard of. And I guess on the indoor track and field part, usually one people specialize in the sprints, or some people specialize in the distance part. But for us to have all 4 of them on both genders is huge.
That sort of speaks to the depth and the way you cover all the events with your team too.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we've kind of prided ourselves on here is building a balanced program. It leads to very interesting discussions amongst our staff when it comes time to doling out scholarships and who we bring in. But we try to stay true to the balanced format. And as you see, we probably have some of the most entrants in the meet across the board. I want to say we have 13 entrants on the women's side and 11 on the men that we're going to field and cover. And I would probably say that'd probably be in the top 2 or 3 in all the people that are going to the meet.
A lot of
That's right.
anticipation in some of the distance races with
Ooh.
Lowy Lelang and Edward Cheserek. Well, how do you feel about your young freshman going up against a kid of that caliber?
Well, I talked to Fred Harvey a little bit there at the MPSF championship, and he didn't lead or open or show his hand if we're talking about poker as far as his idea of tripling Lowy in those events. But I say that's a huge feat. To do that in a 2-day time span. Usually when you do things like that, they're outdoors when you're doing them over 4 days. So what he's doing is definitely historic in nature. And not to take anything away from him, he's a super talent. He's probably some of the most talented there in the field. He's superior talent in the field in some of those events. But in saying that, I like the Ducks. I like them a whole lot. I like what Coach Powell has done with the our middle distance and distance group, and we have some guys here that we think highly of as well, and Mac Fleet, Cheserek, Dunbar, and Parker. You know, those guys will be running against this guy trying to complete this historic triple.
Didn't Galen Rupp triple, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did it a different way. He was a DMR guy in his triple.
Yeah.
So Lowy's the first to try it in 3 individuals.
3 individual events. Yeah. So, hey, don't get me wrong. He's amazing. I'm glad to see him go.
Is that good for Robert?
Hey, thanks guys.
Thanks, Robert.